Welcome to Stopped for a While. You've made it right here to the peaceful place on the Fraser Coast after a long Queensland drive. Shoes off, breathe easy and settle in. Here, the stories stretch as far as the highway. The laughter's always close and the truth sometimes goes walkabout. These are the tales of the wanderers, folks you only meet out here. We share them in the golden hour, when the tent is pitched, the caravan's steady, and there's a cold drink in your hand. Did it all happen just like this? Maybe, maybe not. But that's the spirit of the peaceful place. It's half the fun, isn't it?
Well, otherwise it'd be in the bottom of...
The rock caused a handbrake turn.
Yeah. Otherwise it'd been in the bottom of Tinaroo Dam.
Calling Bob a keen fisherman is like saying the ocean's a bit damp. The bloke practically set up a fishing school while he stopped for a while. Everyone either left with a fish or a fishing story, but we'll get to that shortly. Now, if you've tuned in before, you'll know that I'm not shy about taking the mickey out of campers and guests. Purely for sport, of course. But today, it's my turn in the firing line. Because, let's face it, disaster was lurking and ready to pounce. So, the better half pipes up. What started as a polite heads up, which usually fellas morphs into what we call nagging, was about this smell wafting around our side. Every now and then, it was like someone got fired up with an angle grinder. Burning. Then it was gone. I caught a whiff once and shrugged it off. Classic, right? Anyway, in my defence, my sniffer's been on strike since I quit smoking, which was 35 years ago. Case in point, once a mouse carked it under the outdoor drinks fridge, and I didn't notice it. It reached biohazard level, and then I got a whiff. I'm not proud, but it is what it is. So, fast forward to me, mid-podcast, and then the power cuts out. We peek over at the neighbour's van, lights still on. So, out I go to our fuse box and bam, there's that smell again. Out I go to our fuse box and bam, there's that smell again. Then I spotted smoke billowing, plastic melting, and my power cord's just about to barbecue itself. So I yanked the plug out with a bit of a wrestle, but I win in the end, just before it goes up in flames. 2 hours and a few frantic calls later, and crisis is averted. But mate, I've got to tell you, it was a close shave. So, what's the lesson learned? Jam that power cord in properly. Don't be slack. Give it a good push every time you wander past. And most importantly, blokes, listen to your better half. Turns out they actually know a thing or two. Who knew? When Bob stopped for a while, he was the gentleman that took anyone who wanted to learn to fish better under his little fishy fin. Young kids with crab pots, or David and Michelle from the last podcast, who loved the fishing and the tips. You've just become Barra Bob, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You caught a barramundi just out the back here.
Yes, down the river.
And it was that big.
Well, it wasn't that big. I suggest it was close to 900 millimetres.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do you have to throw them back at that? I'm not a fisherman.
No, there's no limit on them.
Yeah.
But from previous experience, I've realised it was full of eggs.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it was Mum ready to get rid of
eggs
for some more.
And possibly why it was that far up the river.
Oh, they come up here for a bit of peace and quiet.
Spawn, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Interesting. Interesting.
Rather than kill it for the sake of having a bit of fish, I decided to back in the water.
Good on you.
Because I mean, I like fishing and I love eating fish, but when I see something like that,
No, don't do that. That's right. Exactly.
It'll go up creek and probably spawn, maybe 500,000 eggs.
How many will you get out of that, do you think?
Could be only 1 or 2%, but still, no, that's a lot of fish.
It's still a lot of fish.
A lot of fingerlings, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, kids in another 20 years' time will hook a fish and say, "Shit, look at this! Look what I got."
That's it. And for all they know, it might have been one that Bob saved.
Could have been.
Exactly right.
That's right.
That's why a lot of people come here is for the fishing and a bit of boating, because they can zoom up and down.
Because if everyone just catches a fish and takes it away, there's nothing left.
There's nothing. Yeah, overfishing.
They should all be. Yeah, well, they should all be aware of that by what happened here in Harvey Bay. Like when the trawlers used to come in, you couldn't catch fish because the trawlers took them all. Yeah. Now they've cut the trawlers out, the fish are coming back.
Exactly. What about crabs? I mean, I see you've taken the crab pot out a while.
Yeah, I put a young Paul over there with the kids. We put a couple of pots in just now.
Yeah? Oh, nice. So we'll see what that's in the morning?
Took them down and showed them how to bait it and put them in the creek. And I'll see
about that.
See if they catch a crab. I told them to go to check it tonight, but that might be a bit early. But in the morning they'll have crabs.
They'll have enough.
Yeah.
There you go, and you have to put back the females,
yes.
and the males can only be over a certain size.
Got to be over 150 millimetres.
That's across the claws,
across the shell.
Across the shell.
Yeah.
What brought you here, Bob? What brought you here to the peaceful place?
Basically, I retired. I had a marriage breakdown about 2017. So what's that? That's 17. That's 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of money. I lost a lot of property only through a very bad dealing with the family law court. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, rather than get nasty on my ex-missus and everything else, I told the kids I'm not going to stay around and I'm just going to pack up and go and have a bit of a tour around.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Yeah. Are you from around here?
No, Warwick originally.
Oh, Warwick boy. Okay. So fishing good up there? Just back to the fishing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fishing good up there. Yeah, big fish.
So you were born in Warwick?
Yep.
And lived most of your life in Warwick, or?
Oh, early.
Yeah.
Early. Then I shifted around. About 16, I went to Cairns. That was my first job.
Okay. Doing what?
Working with the clerk for the government.
Oh, okay. So what sort of clerking did you do?
I worked for the state government insurance office, but I'd actually gone through. I ended up getting qualified as an accountant, and I went to all that was in my area of Cairns, which included up as far as Thursday Island, out to Mount Isa, and down to Townsville. And you used to go see. In those days, the police station and the courthouse were all agents of SGIO. So,
really?
Yeah, so they all had to be audited. So, because they took money from the public, they had to be audited. So I went to all those places and did audits on them.
Oh, wow. That's something I didn't know. So the State Government Insurance Office.
That's what it was. Yeah, SGIO used to be called. Yeah, back in the 70s. Well, it went on to become Suncorp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. SGIO stayed SGIO until probably 1980 something, and then they went to Suncorp.
Because other states have the government insurance office.
Yeah, well, Western Australia and I think South Australia still have GIOs.
Yeah. And Territory have.
I don't know what they have up there.
Yeah, that's GIO again, I think.
Something like that.
But
that was the equivalent. Yeah.
Well, there you go. And so, what did you do from there? So you left it.
Well, while I was up there, I got in. I had a favourite uncle that lived in Herberton, which was on the Atherton Tableland.
Yep.
And I was always very interested in timber, and I went out with him when we were cutting railway sleepers and bridge girders with a buzzsaw.
Oh, really?
In the forestries, yeah.
Wow.
And we used to cut them, and the railway, the sleepers were used in Queensland, but the bridge girders were used in New South Wales. They shipped all the way to New South Wales.
Oh, really? From all the way up here?
Yeah.
So what sort of timber is it?
It was ironbark and turpentine.
Because that ironbark's quite hard stuff, isn't it?
Hard stuff. It's got to be hard for that.
Yeah, of course, for what it does.
Yeah, but the bridge girders were 10 inches, wide,
Yeah.
6 inches thick,
Yeah.
8 foot long, and we took them to the railhead at Herberton.
Yeah.
And they loaded them on and they railed them down
Railed
to the
them down.
New South Wales border because they couldn't take them into New South Wales because of a change of
The gauge of the
gauges.
railways, yes.
And then they transported to a truck down to there, yeah.
Because we lived in Albury-Wodonga for a lot of years, and that's where they have the
Change over.
the change of the gauge. But there's now a gauge that goes all the way from Melbourne to Sydney. But
I think there's one goes from Brisbane now too.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I did, and I got stuck in. I always had an interest in timber, so I worked with him for a fair while. Yeah, then I sort of just poked along. I started a produce shop. I had a produce shop for 10 years.
Yeah? Selling all kinds of veggies and stuff?
No, more commercial truckloads of grain and that type of thing.
That sort of...
Yeah. Truckloads of wheat and barley and sunflowers, cottonseed meal.
Everybody came to you and...
We sourced it, and away they went.
No, how long was that? How long were you there for?
Oh, about
doing
10 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was a bit of fun for you. It was different to cutting up timber, I guess.
Well, I still kept doing
a young
timber.
bloke?
I still kept doing timber while I had it.
Oh, right,
As
okay.
as a sideline, yeah.
And that took you... That was still around Cairns?
No, that was back on the Downs. I came back down
to Darling Downs.
back to Darling Downs then, yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And what brought you here this time, as you said, was to end of your tour, or what?
No, I travelled before, as I said, back in 2017. I had a Toyota Coaster motorhome, and to get away from the crisis in Warwick, I packed up and went, and I really enjoyed travelling.
Yeah,
and I went back up north to where my parents originally lived. They had a dairy farm up on the Atherton Tableland, up near Lake Eacham, and that Rob was saying about this morning.
Yeah.
So I went there, and then one of my uncles and aunties, they were away out mining at a mining place called Mount Surprise. So I went out there and I stayed with them for a while.
Okay.
When I got to Mount Surprise, one of their friends, he owned a trawler and he was at Karumba trawling.
Okay. Yeah.
So they went back to Mareeba and they said, why don't you go over to the Gulf and see, I can't think his name now, Cowboy I think they called him. And so I went, I took a drive across there to the Gulf, saw him, and I kept going. I went right up to Arnhem Land, got up to Arnhem Land.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, that's far enough. I was going to go to Darwin, but I never got there.
Never got that far?
No, so I turned around and I came back.
How was Arnhem Land? Because that...
Very regimentated.
Really?
You've got to be careful where you go. Yeah. Like you got to have permits to go in all different places. Mm-hmm. And I've always been a keen fisherman. I was mad keen to get to the coast and fish and catch all their fish, but it wasn't that easy. No, you had to get all the permits and you had to pay so much money to get to the good sites.
Okay.
So anyway, I said, no, I went back. So I went back to Karumba, and I called in and told my mate. We went out on the trawler, and he was a commercial fisherman. He caught fish, and he caught mud crabs. He had mud crabs. So he gave me 40 mud crabs. And I said, well, what am I going to do with them? He said, take them back to Mareeba. You'll sell them, no worries at all. Because I was going back to Mareeba, which is my base where my cousins and that live.
Yeah.
He said, take them back. He said, you get rid of them. So I took 40 mud crabs back. And when I got closer to home, I had called back into my uncle and auntie, and I said, I got bloody 40 mud crabs in Eskies that the Cowboy's given me. What am I going to do with them? And my uncle said, well, he said, you wouldn't believe it. He said, at the racecourse today, there's a field day on, Farmers Field Day, where they sell and show off all their machinery, a bit like Ag Fest and Ag Show and all those things. Yeah. He said, take them down there and sit outside the gate with a sign, mud crabs, $25. I said, $25? You going to get that? He said, yeah, shit, yeah. Within an hour and a half, I'd sold 40 mud crabs at $25. I sold the lot.
Oh,
people
wow.
coming and going from the Ag Show.
And you didn't get to taste one of them for yourself?
No, I could have sold another 40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were beautiful big mud crabs from over there. But they're tied up and everything, and in the eskies kept cool, a bit of water on them every so often.
That's it.
Yeah, and about an hour and a half, I'd sold 40.
Wow.
I sat there at the motorhome there, put the eskies outside, and I had a bit of cardboard,
Yeah.
and I wrote the sign on it, and that was it. They were gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah.
So you could have been a fishmonger.
You could have been a fishmonger. I could have bought 100 back and I'd have sold a lot.
And
But he gave them to me. That was the best part of it,
Yeah.
you know. And in those days, a quid was a quid. I didn't have much money anyway, you know. 40,
No.
25 bucks, and I couldn't believe it. I remember sitting there and I was putting the money in a bucket, and I thought, this, you know, if only I could keep doing this, I could really fill these buckets up with money. But people, they wanted them, you know. They wanted mud crab. That was.
Any other good stories like that? Because it seems like you would have a few.
Oh, not really. Only the one where I got the fella that I ran when I went to Mount Surprise, the fella that I ran into, he had just driven from Mareeba out, and he had a Toyota, a Ford Trader motorhome. And when he got out there, all the oil had run out of it. So he said, he was nearly crying, and I said, what's wrong? He said, oh, my truck's buggered. He said, all the oil's run out of it, I think I wrecked it. I said, oh, we'll have a look in the morning. So anyhow, I climbed under it in the morning, put up on a couple of old sleepers, and all that happened is the oil filter was not tightened when he got it serviced in Mareeba. So on the way out, it pumped a lot of the oil out. But fortunately for him, when he got out there was still enough oil that it didn't seize. I screwed it back up, cleaned it all down with a bloody tin of spray.
Yeah.
And then filled it up with oil. I had spare oil. So anyway, he's happy, turned around, took it for a drive, and away he went. So we were camped there for a week probably, but anyway, a couple of nights later he was still there, and he came over and he said, you've been digging any, it's a mining place where you mine gems. And he said, did you get any topaz today or stones? I said, no. I said, I didn't even go looking. Too hard to work, you know. You got to go down and dig in the hole, and it's hot and sweaty, and you know, nah.
Yeah.
He said, here, have these, and he gave me 3 stones. And they look just like marbles, worn out marbles, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I said, geez, thanks very much, you know, not knowing what they were or not really worrying what they were. And I put them in the bus, drove back to Mareeba. They rolled out of the bottom drawer and were rolling around the floor every time I went in the corner. They'd roll from one side of the motorhome to the other. Yeah. So I got back to Mareeba and I told my cousins about it. And he said, where are they? I said, so I went and found them. And he come and he first of all, he sat them on a table just like this, but it had like a glass section in here. And he dragged it across the glass. Mm-hmm. And he said, that'll cut glass.
Yeah.
I said, oh, topaz won't. He said, no, it's not topaz. So he did an acid test on it.
Yeah.
And then he did a hardness test on it. He said, you know what they are? I said, no. He said, they're yellow diamonds.
What? Yellow diamonds?
Yellow diamonds, yeah.
Wow.
So this old bloke had found yellow diamonds somewhere in his travels.
Yeah.
And kept them.
And thought he would give them to you to say thank you.
So anyway, I said, well, I better find him because I don't think he knows what they are. So I looked at every photo I had on my phone. I rang the old lady that owned the caravan park. She said, he blows in every year, he pays me money, and then he's gone. She said, I know his name is Dave, but that's all. And I said, well, how are we going to find him? She said, well, I don't think we can. So we never ever did find him. To this day, no one knew where he was, where he found these. We can only assume from work that my cousin did that he was down around Sapphire, somewhere down those emerald fields, somewhere down that way. Or the only other place is I can't remember the town, but it's in mid-New South Wales. There's a place there that they have actually found yellow diamonds.
Yellow diamonds.
Yeah, they're very rare, yeah.
So I'm going to ask the pointy question. What are they worth, do you know?
I sold one, a small one I sold to Wallace Bishop in Brisbane for $12,000, uncut.
Hang on a minute. 12 grand.
Yeah, uncut.
And that was a small one?
That was about the size of not quite the size of a marble, a little bit smaller than an average marble.
And these ones you've still got left are?
One's about the size of the old tombola. It's probably an inch across.
Yeah.
And the other one's about the same as the original one. It's only like the size of a marble.
Crikey, Bob.
But the big one, if the Wallace Bishop said to me, if the only way that you could make money out of it is because it's too big to cut into one single stone. It's not desirable. The only way it'd be, it's big enough to cut into 4.
And then
they facet it up into brilliant cut or something like that.
Yeah.
And they could be worth, 25, 30,000 each.
Yellow diamonds.
But they can. It depends on the quality. They can go to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Wow. So the moral of the story is help someone out where you can, because you never know.
That's right.
You never know. What's the van? It's a old Viscount you've got.
Viscount, yeah. I got it and did a little bit of work to it and put a new top in it and new curtains. And,
yeah. And then you scabbed Rob's awning off of it as well. Just
Yeah, I said to him, well, we were sitting here one night and I said, I'm going to find an awning for mine. He said, oh, yeah, that's all we said. And then he said, give me a hand to put the new one on. Well, you were there that day. He said, you want the old one? I said, oh, not really. I said, I don't want to be going buying things. He said, no, I'll give it to you. So I gave him a carton and I got an awning.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Because I helped him put that on when he first got the van.
Got it.
Way down in the front yard. You get this. I got this over the back. Come and give me a lift.
Yeah. You got to have someone on either end. But anyway, But no, the old being good. I sold the motorhome after I came back, and I didn't. I went back working for a while. Then back in the timber.
Yeah.
Just sort of sat on my own for a while. Yeah, keeping track of things.
Yeah. And you're just pulling it. What are you pulling it with?
The Subaru. Not a Subaru. Kia Sorento, which I bought for $1,000.
And then you fixed it up?
Fixed it up, yeah.
Diesel?
Diesel, turbo diesel, 5-speed turbo diesel.
And that pulls that little Viscount a trade.
Oh, no worries. You don't even know it's on there.
I bet you don't. I bet you don't.
No.
That's amazing. Because it's a very distinctive car.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of Rangers that roll around here in my BT, but it's a different sound.
Yeah, well, I had a Pajero, a diesel Pajero, but when the marriage breakup came, that had to go. So then when I came back up here, I bought a 1999 V6 Pajero, and it was a beautiful car, yeah. I fixed it up too. I bought it in Brisbane for $2,000.
Yeah.
Bought it up, fixed it up. I ran it until last year, just before Christmas, and I was doing some work for NDIS cleaning, and I went to an old bloke's place, and he said, "Look at me car," and I said, "Oh, what's wrong with it?" And it was just in a shed, in his garage. And when I went round the front, he'd jammed a shopping trolley between the front of it and a brick wall, and it stoved all the radiator in and the air conditioning condenser and all that, and the water pump. Everything, all the front was stoved in, but didn't hit under the bottom and didn't hit the bonnet.
Okay.
Only got the grill.
Yeah.
So I stripped it all down. All the front member was bent in. So I hooked it. I still had the Pajero at the time. I hooked it to the Pajero and pulled it all straight. And then I got a new radiator and condenser and all that put back in, and
away she went.
Haven't missed a trick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, beautiful on fuel.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of the emission control on those would be.
No.
That's it.
No, that's it. Before the whole lot got really complicated. Yeah,
very complicated.
Yeah, it hasn't got one of those, what do they call them, DP?
The DPF filters.
But you can get them and put them on.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's just a matter of piping it in, plumbing it in.
And a lot of people actually go and block those off anyway.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because my brother said to me, he said, "You want to put a DPF on?" I said, "Well, is it worth it?" And he said, "Oh, well, a lot of people say they're not worth having." But I said, "Well, they must do something, otherwise they wouldn't make it."
Yeah.
But they do. I think they do filter a lot of the crap.
They do a lot of
crap oil out of the engine. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a catch can on mine.
Yeah.
That does that. and there's talk of a secondary fuel filter. Before it hits before it gets in there, just as a that's interesting. And last night, while we were out, you told us about your new adventure. You've got yourself a bricks and mortar place.
Yes. We looked at this one of these units. There's a block of 6 in the unit, but in a block of 6 units altogether. But they're separated units. They're all separate buildings. My partner and I, we looked at them ages ago, and we sort of said no, we didn't want to do anything at this stage. But we've sold our citronella plantation, or her citronella plantation, and we decided we'd buy a unit because she's coming back another month or 2.
Yeah.
And so I think the travels are stopped for a little while.
Travels are stopped. Still kept the van though?
Well, I don't know. I've had that many different suggestions of people that wanted to buy it, and people wanted to rent it, and people wanted to do other things. So I'm just up in the air at the moment.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's a lovely little van, yeah.
It is. It is a lovely little van.
Yeah. I just don't. If I do go travelling again with 2 of us, it probably wouldn't be suitable.
Just suitable for the single man.
Single man touring
with his
around,
fishing rods.
With his fishing rods, it's ideal. It's lovely, yeah.
Yeah.
But for 2 people, it wouldn't be that comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't think, but anyway.
Hey, I mean, it's outdoor living. If you're doing it all in Queensland, you pick the times of the year, you go north and south and west and east.
My plan was, because we'd had that much drama over the sale of this property in the Philippines, that I thought, well, this is going to take years. So that's why I sort of thought, well, I'm not going to sit at home on my own doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'll get the van and I'll go.
Yeah, of course.
So I went to Tin Can Bay. I come up to here. My plan was to go to Woodgate next.
Yeah.
And then 1770.
Yep.
Because they're all fishing places, and I like fishing, so I thought, well,
and they're not bad places to live either. Yeah.
Yes, very similar to here, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll do that. But now my plans have changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sorry to see you go, my friend.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of, you develop friends when you get to these places.
Of course you do, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of these podcasts, is to talk to people.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's friends everywhere.
Look, I sat at home because I did have a terrible time for a while. I had, as I said, after I went back into the timber game, I went in there because I was forced to go back into there.
Yeah.
I had a son that was basically suicidal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that my only way was to take him out in the bush, get him away from it, and I did, and fortunately brought him round. So that was keeping him out in the timber and keeping him working.
Yeah. That's so nice to hear.
Well, to cut a long story short, though, 3 years ago, he went out in the bush. I had him established into bees. I built him a big bee shed, extraction shed and everything else. He went out into the bush and he rang his brother-in-law and said, I don't feel well. So his brother-in-law went and got him, picked him up, took him into Warwick Hospital, and they couldn't do anything with him there. So they took him through to Toowoomba, flew him to Brisbane, and he had a swelling at the base of his brain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he died. So he was only 32.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, you sort of think you should die before your kids. But him and I were very close, you know. We did the bees together, we did timber together, all that sort of thing. Yeah. So I couldn't stay there any longer. I just packed up and that's it.
Yeah.
Way I went.
That's sad.
It is, but anyway, I'm probably a screw. I walked away from it. You know, walked away from the case that he had died. You know, but I felt it was the only way I could handle it.
Yeah. We don't want to end this on a sad note.
No.
Well, let's end on a funny note.
Yes. Because
many people have strange and humorous stories of what they've seen in caravan parks. Is there anything that comes to mind directly from you that's gone, oh, you idiot, I shouldn't have done that, or oh...
No, the only thing I really saw was a woman attempting to back a caravan in at Lake Tinaroo.
Yeah.
And she on her own, she had pulled up she had undone the jockey wheel.
Yeah.
And then she obviously had undone the coupling.
Yeah.
And she turned around, turned the van so it's pointing into the site.
Yeah.
Proceeded to back, hit the brakes, and the caravan came up off the ball, heads down this hill. Oh. And I mean, that's back in the 2020 or something like that. It was an expensive van. It must have been worth 70 or 80 grand.
Oh no!
Yeah, and I got about. I suppose I was standing there thinking, well, how the hell can you can't stop it?
You just got to wait for it.
You got to wait for it, you know. And by some sort of a miracle, like 3 parts the way down this gully, there was a rock.
Yeah.
And the left-hand wheels hit the rock, and the caravan swung around like that, went 180 degrees, and stopped.
Oh.
Otherwise, it had been in the bottom of...
The rock caused a handbrake turn.
Yeah. Otherwise, it had been in the bottom of Tinaroo Dam. Oh, it was funny.
Oh,
but this poor woman, she's screaming and yelling, and the caravan's heading down the hill. Like a funniest home video would have been great to see.
Yeah, if the only things you've got a camera at the time.
So anyway, but they went at the same caravan park. This woman, she had a couple of kids, and was sitting at the table. It's very similar to this. And one of the local MPs came out on a tour. He was checking around and doing the same as what you're saying. He was saying to people, you know, what do you do? Where you from? What do you like?
Yeah.
And so these 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they were running around playing and everything. So we're sitting there and being proper and, you know, I think we should do this, we should do that. Real intelligent conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we're standing there, out of the creek comes this big green frog. Jumped up out of the water, and it's jumping up. And I could see this kid, the boy, watching it, you know, and I'm watching, and the frog's jumping up. And I thought, well, it's going to jump under this bloody table in a minute. So anyway, when it got under the table, I just give it a flick, see, to make it. They didn't jump on anybody, or particularly this woman, because she had squealed and yelled.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a couple other people sitting at the table. So the frog turned around and decided to jump back down towards the water.
Yeah.
And this kid's still watching it. And I could tell by the look on his face, you know, like I had kids of my own, I could read what was going through his mind, you know. And everyone sort of being all so polite and useful. And next thing he went, that'll stop the bastard getting back in the creek. And all these people just went, I could see something was going to happen. I could read his looks. I could read his face, you know. And he just smacked straight on top of this big green frog.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but anyway, yes, find all walks of life.
You do. All around. Thanks for chatting. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Sunrise means it's time to pack up. Tents folded, caravans hitched, everyone shuffling along. But for those who stick around the peaceful place, it's time to watch the dust settle and let the stories buzz around as thick as mozzies at happy hour. That peace never lasts long. Sooner or later, a new storyteller rolls in, looking for a comfy spot to stop and spin a yarn. When they stop for a while, their tales become part of ours, just the way we like it. Next time on the podcast, we're talking to Greg. If you thought half of these guys in previous episodes had done some jobs, just wait till you hear about Greg. Stopped for a While is brought to you by Macmouth Media, music by Ben Clayton, and thanks to Rob Laffer, the man at Serenity Caravan Park. Like the stories? Subscribe for free so you never miss one. Find us at stopforawhile.com.au or on Instagram. Maybe drop us a line. Now it's time for another cool drink. Thanks for stopping for a while.